today we're actually talking a little bit about pasture. Pasture is kind of one of those topics that isn't always super interesting, and let's face it, it's time consuming because pasture just doesn't happen overnight. But we're back here doing some other stuff, and we kind of wanted to show sort of what's going on. This is pasture 1, so this is year 3 of this being pasture. I'm just going to quickly scan around. You can see our shadows and a cat, but it's looking pretty nice. But the part that I really wanted to talk about here was actually below my feet. So this area right here is obviously a little bare patch, and you're going to get that in pastures no matter what you do. But if you look beside it, and I'm going to bear with me, bend down, you can see under there what they call a thatch layer. Now, that's not just hay that wasn't eaten last year, although maybe some of that is, but what I'm standing on, and I'm in Crocs, which is not necessarily the most appropriate footwear, but you can really feel what's beneath your feet. And what's interesting about it is you can feel that thatch layer, sort of that buildup of a root zone, which is a really good thing if you're trying to build pasture quality. So of course, Canada doesn't have the ability, or most parts of Canada don't have the ability to grow pasture year round. It just can't happen. But if you go to England, and I'm no expert on this, but I have done some reading and some research, there is a whole ideology that even with cattle, if you can create that really good deep thatch layer and that really sort of integrated mat of roots, that you can exponentially improve your pasture quality. So i.e. you're getting a lot less of those bare patches like what I showed you. And you're still going to have a few no matter what you do. But the one downside to animals like these, sheep, is that they have hooves. And hooves are hard on the ground, for lack of a better way to put it. So building this layer is actually important, not only from building the productivity of your pasture, but also protecting it from the hooves of those animals that you're trying to pasture on it. So we have a long ways to go, and it's a time of year when everything's growing really nice, looks really lush, etc. But it's that balance between improving the pasture, and we've done no overseeding. This is just animals doing this, making selections on their own, etc. We've done a little bit of mowing and some spot removal of things that otherwise compete with the animals for pasture space, but it definitely seems to be improving. And it's hilarious, these two cats. These are house cats that think they're farm cats, that think they're dogs. They follow us everywhere, way out to the back pasture, and love the opportunity to come back here and run around. It's actually quite funny. Nothing to do with pasture, but so this is the job we actually came out to do. So we need to move this feeder to the pasture that has the sheep in it, because we just need to. But you can see this has been here for a while, and the voles have lived under it. But you can see that network of roots and fungus, etc. It's all in sort of your top soil, for lack of any other better way to put it. And the denser that mat is, the better quality or the more resilient your pasture tends to be. And of course, watching the sheep run around out here, keep in mind these are ewe lambs except for one, and they're enjoying the space. But your pasture health, and again, this is boring, not everybody's cup of tea and not important to everybody, but it really comes down to that stocking density, because to keep your pasture in this good a shape, unless you have the optimal growing conditions, you're going to have fewer animals, or subsidize them, which we do a little bit, but the more you subsidize, the bigger the temptation to have more and more animals. Of course, every animal on the planet has a footprint, and that's really what I'm getting at here with the stocking density. This cat knocks things over, but even humans, right? The soil compaction, me just being out here walking around is compacting that soil. Done lightly, i.e. this cat, for example, it's not an issue. The plants can rebound, but the carrying capacity of all this and the biomass out here has to far outweigh the biomass of whatever animals you're raising if you're not going to just constantly deplete your carrying capacity. And you can't pasture raise cats. although they may beg to differ. So this area hasn't been fenced as long, and we actually have to come back and retrofit the existing fence so that it will accommodate sheep, because the sheep are going to be the best users of it. But this was used as kind of overflow for cattle when we had them, and horses when we had the big horses. And you can see it's coming back, but there's a lot more damage been done out here. So I'm by no means preaching that we are the be-all and end-all of doing this the right way. I'm just trying to show folks out there that it takes time. You're not going to get there overnight, but there are some things to think about, because overstocking and getting too many animals too quickly really is going to set you back. Now this I don't think is going to set us back a ton, because it is growing fairly well, aside from the really heavily worn path there. But you can see this is kind of a double-edged thing, because we did remove some sumac in through here, and it keeps coming back. So that's another reason that we need to get the sheep in here, because as bad as it is in one sense, that will also help set this back to be a usable pasture space. So what I mean by that and setting it back is the sheep are browsers as well as grazers. The Icelandics in particular are big browsers. Pretty much if they can reach it and it's green, they will probably eat it. But where I say it's kind of a double-edged sword, or kind of a bad thing, is you are, I'm going to say it, our footprint on the planet's the biggest of any, and you are fighting this balance between what we need to consume, because we have to consume to stay alive, and what you need to keep everything else around you alive. So this is a small area that we're making the decision that we're going to convert it to pasture. But as you can see behind here, we are actually doing the opposite. And we are purposely leaving areas, even though it makes certain parts of fencing more awkward, it's still staying as habitat that other things can use, because otherwise it would be far more economical to just clear it with a bulldozer and start over. But that sort of defeats the purpose of trying to be a bit more sustainable.